Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! My mother is the most obnoxious person you could ever deal with. She's so arrogant and condescending and won't just get off her high horse no matter what. She's someone that I found peace in leaving her behind the moment I was able to go to college. On top of all of that, she's quite wealthy, married into a rich family and well, got filthy rich overnight. Yet, she won't really help a single person in her family, even if there is an emergency. As I mentioned above, me and my sister tried our best to get away from her as soon as we were able to get out of that house. No one liked her in the family. She's a know-it-all and will tell you what to do and insist you do it right now. A typical freaking Karen but with money and authority. Contrary to our Karen of a mother, we have the anti-Karen in our beloved aunt. She's the nicest person you can imagine. Makes you wonder how can you get two completely opposite people practically coming out of the same house. We loved our aunt. We visited her a lot when we got out of our parents' house. Cause when we were young, we were not allowed to go to my aunt's simply because she lives in a somewhat shady neighborhood and Mama didn't want us to catch a disease. And by disease I mean poor people's habit. Little bit before Thanksgiving, my aunt picked up the phone and called me to invite me and my sister to her dinner on Thanksgiving this year. It's not much, she said, but it's best to spend it with family and the people you love. But I had no other plans really. I'm a 22-year-old single guy and wasn't really up for anything special on that day. And I definitely wasn't going home to celebrate that day with Cinderella's evil stepmom. So I agreed, and so did my sister. Was a little bit of convincing because she was into hosting it this year. When I called her up to double down on my aunt's invitation, she complied and postponed her plans to the next year. A week or so after these calls, I got a new one, but this time it was from a less pleasant person, my mom. She called me up and demanded I make it home this year on Thanksgiving since she felt generous enough to get her private cook to prepare dinner for us that night. It felt really good to tell her no. That will not be happening because, well, too bad, we are going to aunt's this year. Me, my sister, and the rest of the family are gonna meet up at aunt's during the holiday and that we're gonna have a good time with everyone else. She lost her mind. Started calling me names, telling me how dare I indicate that her poor sister is worthy of hosting this thing more than her, and demanded that I ditch my plans and come home instead. No, no, and no was my answer. I made up my mind and I won't change it. Period. And of course she hangs up the phone in my face. And later I found out that my sister got a similar phone call from my beloved mother and gave her a similar answer, to which the mean lady on the other side of the phone lost it and hung up on her as well. A few days go by and then I got another call from my mother. I hesitate to answer, but since I somehow turned out to be a somewhat decent human being, unlike her, probably due to my dad raising me the right way, I decided to answer in case there is an emergency or anything of that sort. For the first 5 minutes of that phone call, I kept getting told that I'm a horrible son for declining her invitation, more like order, to come to her house and have dinner with her. But when she saw that she couldn't really get me to flinch, she asked me an odd request. She wanted to come to our aunt's dinner on Thanksgiving, just like the rest of the family. But Mom, you lived your entire life trying to distance yourself from these people, and now you want to have dinner with them? How so? I had no idea what she had in mind, but okay. I will call my aunt and see what I can do. My aunt, being the warm-hearted woman she is, she welcomed the idea right away even though her sister neglected her for so many years and gave her the worst treatment for being, well, poor. As if my mother earned that wealth she has right now. As if she didn't just get lucky and struck gold when she married my dad. Anyways, my mom is someone that always has demands and she expects people, all the people, to chop and get them done right away. Exactly the way she wants them. Even if these people aren't really related to her, complete strangers, or even small children that can't even understand what this nonsense is all about. This will be important later. On Thanksgiving, we all drove up to our aunt's house. I got there a little bit early to help, and my sister and the rest of the family started showing up one by one. All except for my mother. Honestly, we thought she's not gonna make it, and we would have celebrated that as well, but as it seems, things turned out to be more complicated than that. Mom did not show up for dinner, called her a few times, but her cell phone wasn't on. So I ignored it, and we proceeded without her. Then, all of a sudden, we hear a knock on the door, and we all look at each other trying to check who we were missing. No one. We're missing no one. Everyone is here. Wait, everybody's here except for my entitled mom. I go to open the door and I really get shocked when I see her standing right there shaking, with her makeup messed up and barely holding herself up. We take her inside, wrap her in a blanket, give her a hot beverage. I wait for her to calm down and tell us what the hell happened to her. Then she starts to tell us. She dressed up for the night, got into her fancy car and drove to my aunt's. Reached my aunt's house, but instead of just parking her car like a normal person, she didn't want to park her Mercedes on this filthy street around these rusty cars. So she decided to look for a nearby parking lot and found herself one. Although when she got into this parking lot, she noticed a car parked in the corner that apparently had some guys in it. And she, being the entitled person she is, decided to have a talk with them when she saw them smoking whatever the hell they were smoking inside this car. Remember when I said that my aunt lived in a shady neighborhood? Yeah, and these were, well, shady people. They were gang members. She walked up to their car and started berating them about what they were doing and demanding them to stop that and go elsewhere. Eventually, they pulled a gun on her, and they pointed it right against her head. Once she realized she's on the brink of death, she freaked out and peed herself. Yeah, apparently they saw that and decided somehow to let her go, after taking some of her belongings and so on. And that was a moment my mother realized she is not some sort of god. She's not invincible, and she definitely won't get away with screaming at gang members in her own hood. She's lucky she got away with just a traumatic experience. With her attitude in that kind of situation, living in a body bag would have been a much more believable scenario. I won't say that this day changed my mother's behavior 180 degrees. Not really. That's not the case, but she's definitely not as bad as she was. Her perspective on some things no doubt changed. I truly hope that one day she'll become a much nicer person, someone that I can have a normal conversation with. But until that day comes, I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. On this fateful day, I had a to-do list that could rival a CVS receipt. Grocery shopping, returning a library book, and picking up some new socks. Nothing out of the ordinary, or so I thought. So, I was standing in the cereal aisle, carefully considering the merits of cinnamon versus honey flavored, when this lady comes barreling in like a tornado with a bad attitude. Tall, platinum blonde hair, the signature haircut, and eyes that could shoot daggers. My spidey senses tingled, but I brushed it off. I had a serious decision to make. I grabbed my box of cinnamon goodness and move on. But Karen isn't having any of it. She storms up to me, finger pointed as if I'd just kicked her cat. "Excuse me, you just stole that cereal from my cart." I blink, then look down at my hands, clutching the box. I mean, I'm no Sherlock Holmes, but I'm pretty sure I grabbed this off the shelf. I tell her, I think you're mistaken. I got this from the shelf over there. Karen, now red-faced and puffing up like a blowfish, "Don't lie to me. I saw you take it from my cart." Now, I'm no expert on cart-related physics, but I'm pretty sure carts don't just teleport cereal from their shelves. Ma'am, I assure you, this is straight from this shelf. And then it happens. Out of nowhere, unprovoked, and completely without any serious triggers. The moment that you think only happens in exaggerated stories. Karen whips out a pocket knife like she's a villain in a second-rate action flick, and she stabs me. Yes, stabs me. In the arm. No less. I drop the cereal. Who needs breakfast drama, right? And instinctively clutch my arm. The pain hits me like a brick, but honestly, my brain's too busy going haywire to process much of anything. The store goes quiet like someone hit the mute button on the world. I'm standing there, arm bleeding, not much really, cereal forgotten on the floor, and Karen looking like she's just pulled out the greatest magic trick in history. But lo and behold, like a plot twist out of a cheesy detective novel, security appears out of nowhere. I mean, these guys must have been waiting for their moment to shine. Right on their heels, a pair of cops stroll in like they are chicken out the snack aisle. They quickly assess the situation, a bleeding guy, a knife-wielding Karen, and cereal strewn about like it's evidence in some bizarre crime scene. The cops waste no time and slap handcuffs on Karen, her face shifting from rage to sheer panic faster than you can say manager's haircuts. Next thing I know, I'm being whisked away to the store's first aid area. The cops tag along, probably ready to interrogate me about the great serial caper. Sir, can you describe what led up to this incident? One of the cops asks. I was just trying to choose cereal, and she accused me of taking it from her cart. I explained. Man, some people. The other cop mutters, shaking his head in that I've seen it all kind of way. My arm gets patched up and I'm back on my feet once again. Thankfully, it wasn't a deep stab by any means, and I did go to the hospital, but they didn't really do much. It wasn't anything serious, honestly. Well, let's face it, the cereal aisle now holds a special place in my heart. And not in a good way. The rest of my to-do list fades to the background as I'm left grappling with the sheer insanity of the situation. A few weeks later, we're in court and Karen starts shouting, Your Honor, this man assaulted me and stole from my cart. I merely defended my cart from his thieving hands. At this point, I'm half expecting hidden cameras to pop out and reveal that I'm on some kind of prank show, but alas, this is all too real. The judge, with the patience of a saint, calls for security footage from the store. As the video plays, the entire courtroom is treated to a front row seat, Karen's misguided shenanigans. Judge, pinching the bridge of her nose, Miss Karen, it's clear from this footage that you attacked this man. Karen yells, This is outrageous. I demand justice. Now here is a grand finale. As Karen is being led away, she lunges at the judge, shrieking like a banshee and brandishing, you guessed it, a pencil. Not a knife this time, but a pencil. Clearly, she must have snatched it from one of the lawyers in the front seat. Security quickly restrains her, and I'm just sitting there wondering if I've stepped into an alternate universe where common sense doesn't exist. Judge exasperated, Miss Karen, you're in contempt of court. Your behavior is unacceptable. Long story short, Karen gets a one-way ticket to a cell. And I'm left in a daze, wondering how I got here. I mean, who would have thought that a trip to buy cereal could lead to all of this? Life's funny that way, I guess. If you ever find yourself surrounded by crazy, just remember you're not alone. And hey, if nothing else, at least I got a story to tell at parties that'll have everyone in stitches. Until next time, stay cereal savvy, my friends. So this was some 10 years ago, and while the conversation is paraphrased, I remember it like it was yesterday. So background. At the time, I was working grave and swing as a casino player's host in Reno NV. For those who don't know what this job is, we take care of the high rollers. Make sure they get comps, dining and hotel reservations, get invites to tournaments, limo rides, you name it. I wore a nice black blazer with a name tag, slacks, comfortable but professional shoes, hair and makeup done. The days I worked swing, I was off at 3 a.m. But after waiting for the bus and a ride home, I would make it to my place about 5 a.m. Directly across the street from my home was a Walgreens. I stopped in a lot of mornings to grab a protein shake, pick up prescriptions and so on. But on Wednesday mornings, they put out a lot of clearance items. You could snag small appliances dirt cheap. So I was always there on Wednesdays stocking up on Christmas and birthday presents and so on. The employees and manager knew me by sight, and some by name. I was usually a zombie after work, I think like most people, and this Wednesday was no different. I was looking over the latest selection trying to decide if I needed a new coffee maker or just wanted one because it was clearanced for like $5. A woman was next to me speaking Tagalog into her phone. I don't speak it, but Reno has a pretty large Filipino community, so I could at least recognize it. Her language is not important to the story, it just struck me how odd the little things we remember are. She finished her conversation and looked at me. Can I get a discount on this? I don't remember what this was, some small appliance probably. The box is smashed up. No idea, I told her, but I would ask to plug it in to test it before I bought it if the box is damaged. I have no idea if anyone can actually do that, but it seemed reasonable to me. Why would you sell something that doesn't work? She demanded. I had no idea at this point she thought I worked there. I thought she was making conversation. In my defense, I was half asleep and just wanted the good deal on a damn stick blender. Oh, I told her I absolutely wouldn't sell it. But I'm not in the business of selling things anyway. Oh, so you are too good and important to sell things. This is just for the low employees? I finally looked at her. Until then, I was pretty focused on staying awake. I could see she was getting angry. It dawned on me that I still had my name tag on. I slipped it off. They are the cons with magnets, not pins, and stuck it in my pocket. Oh, sorry, I forgot to take this off. I started to say I don't work here, but she was having none of that. Oh, you think you are too good to help me? Just because I'm Filipina? She may have said Filipino. I confess I don't know which is correct and going only off memory. My money is good, you. She said something in Tagalog that didn't sound flattering. You think you can trick me by taking off your name tag? I just sighed. I don't want your money. I don't work here. I'm shopping. Please leave me alone. She ignored everything I just said except for, oh, you won't be getting my money because you need to give me this free for not helping me. Ma'am, I tried to reason with her. I can't give you that. I really don't work here. If you take it without paying, that is stealing. Oh, now you think I'm poor and a thief? What the hell? Where did poor come from? I want to talk to the manager of this whole store. Lady, I turned back to the shelf. I wish you would freaking talk to anyone but me. She stomped off her heels, making little tick-tick sounds on the linoleum. I decided I did need another coffee maker, and that stick blender. As I was putting both in my cart, I hear the tick-tick-tick again. Great, she's back. But she's not alone. Tom, the store manager, was with her. There she is, the woman shrieked. She called me a poor thief and said a swear word at me. I want you to fire her and make her poor. Weird obsession with poverty. Tom looked at me confused. What is happening? I grinned and held up my coffee maker. Shopping. Tom was even more confused. But why are you insulting her and swearing? Well, she thinks I work here and wanted me to let her steal an appliance. Okay, I know that was a bit of an exaggeration, but she started it. And this was a moment that her medication stopped working. In a very loud mix of English and Tagalog, she shrieked out our entire interaction. Surprisingly, she told it correctly too. Except that I didn't put my name tag away to trick her. Tom was done at this point. He just looked at me and said, "You're fired." The woman grinned maliciously at me, grabbed her smashed up box and stormed off with Tom as I shrugged and made my way over to the allergy medication. Or some other area of the store. I don't 100% remember, but I have terrible allergies, so that seems likely. At the register, Tom asked me what really happened, and I told him everything, including how I told her I wished she'd freaking talk to anyone but me. Tom laughed and told me that I was still fired. Yay! I grinned. Do I get a severance package? Tom laughed harder. To be fair, you did swear at her. Plus, you don't actually work here, so no severance package. That's it. I shopped there for many years before I moved. I never saw her again. So I'm sure she went on content with getting me fired and making me poor.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.